What do people need to stop romanticizing? People dropping all their own goals and interests for someone else. Yes, the plot of standard rom-com. Mental illness is a serious condition. Having one does not make you cool, unique, or insightful. It's a disaster. Having followers edit, please stop following me lol. The gangsta lifestyle and all that it entails. I grew up in Oakland and have witnessed far too many of the people I grew with get caught up in the game. Roughly half of the guys from my former neighborhood are either serving life sentences or were killed. I grew up in the 80s, but it's even worse now. Serial killers. And putting details of what they did all over the media, giving them additional fame. A comic I can't recall the name of said I know more about Ted Bundy than I know about my family. Ted Bundy legit got hundreds of love letters from women in jail. Really strange why women would find a person who specifically murders only women attractive. Humans are certainly bizarre. My dad had a saying when I was growing up, if you can imagine it, someone worships it and someone else gets off to it. The older I get, the more and more convinced I am he was right. That's so much more than just Rule 34. It's so accurate. Overworking. My coworkers tend to make it a competition to see who can make the most sacrifices for their career. Who puts in the most overtime hours. Who does things off the clock for work more. Etc. It's bullshit. I have a life and a family I want to prioritize. The only reward the best coal shoveler gets is a bigger shovel. Sometimes not even that. Just the expectation to move more with the same shovels. Depression. Edit. Whoa, didn't know this would blow up. My first ever blown up comment and the first to receive awards. Thank you, kind strangers. Agreed. Depression isn't writing poetry and being mysterious. It can be not leaving your house for weeks, not showering, forgetting to eat or overeating. Emo, worst of all is the distance you create between you and others. It's hard to back from a bad episode. Edit. I really don't want this to sound like I'm gatekeeping. We all have variations of how depression impacts us and how we cope. My point is that depression isn't what the media portrays. Also, I have never felt more understood reading all of your replies. Thank you for sharing. When I'm in an episode and pull away from others, I imagine it's like the bridge that lifts to let boats through. Sometimes the boats are small and when they pass it doesn't take long for the road to be passable again to the other side, but sometimes the boats are so big and long and the bridge is out for such a long time that the traffic starts to turn around. The cars might come back, or they might have found a better bridge. Abusive relationships. Like stalking your love interest partner, drama all the time, bad communication and misunderstandings, trying to invoke jealousy, obsessiveness. It's not romantic, it's creepy. The Mafia. I had an absolute fascination with the Italian mob and mobsters for a very long time. Then I watched something on PBS about the first Sicilians to come to New York. They would shake down Italian people, kidnap their kids for ransom and sometimes kill them. Spell broken. It's kind of like that scene from Goodfellas when Spider gets shot in the foot. The movie is pretty much a feel-good movie where you're rooting for the mob until they do something so horrific and you understand the psychopathy and remorseless attitude they have. Then Spider becomes Christopher and shoots a dude at a bakery in the foot. My roommate frequently works late, and while I sympathized with her at first, I soon discovered she seemed to enjoy the drama of being exhausted, disliking her employer, believing the office needs her, and so on. She's been staying late lately, until midnight or later, and then returning to work by 7 a.m. The entire workplace is in a rush to reach a deadline, but she was furious the other night when a coworker refused to stay past 7 p.m. The coworker was a woman who had recently given birth to a child, was exhausted, and hadn't seen her child in a long time. Her roommate had no sympathy for her and was enraged that her coworker had departed so early. What are you talking about, roommate? However, she earns a six-figure salary, so perhaps the money is worth it to her. I had a coworker, Jean, who would brag about all the hours she worked, how she was calling into the office when she was in labor, how late she stayed at the office, etc. The reality was she wasn't that great of a worker, she was inefficient, had no idea how to properly delegate, was not open to suggestions on how to improve her workflow, would withhold info so others couldn't help her. She may have worked hard, but she sure as hell didn't work smart. Eventually, she became ill and went on medical leave. She wasn't missed. She eventually resigned due to her illness. Within a couple of months of her departure, people were like, Jean who? It was eye-opening for me for sure and really forced me to reevaluate my work-life balance. I had a coworker who, of her own accord, created dozens of spreadsheets and charts which required constant updating, and only about 3 of them yielded any useful information. But because she was always at her desk, often until late in the night updating these things, she was seen as a fantastic worker and essential to the project. She got sick and was off work for a few weeks, and I managed to do her job and mine and still leave at a reasonable time each day. When asked how I managed it, I merely replied I didn't update those ducking spreadsheets. Eventually a new boss came along, got wind of what was going on, and she was transferred to another department. That shit really should be automated also. Excel has amazing scripting capabilities. It can pull data straight from a database. And it's not very difficult. Lots of point and click. A trained monkey could do it. Really, if you need that many spreadsheets, what you should be doing is hiring an SQL dev to do all of that stuff properly. Sleep deprivation, overworking yourself. Attractive people doing harmful things? People shouldn't get a pass to do toxic and rude things simply because they're attractive. Why do I see serial killers and toxic partners get romanticized simply because they're hot? Why does that make their horrible actions somehow badass and charismatic? Back when the Boston Marathon bombing happened, one of my friends on FB started posting a bunch of pictures of one of the bombers, talking about how she would have dreams about him and how obsessed she was with him. I straight up blocked her after the second or third time because I couldn't get over how messed up that was. Dude killed and maimed multiple people, his objective attractiveness became absolutely null at that point. Hustle culture. I don't understand why it's cool to always be busy and dedicating all your waking hours to making money. When do you get to enjoy your time if you are always stressed out? Back in my Facebook days, I had a friend who was in real estate that would brag about hustling even while vacation. Her posts consisted of her laptop by the beach resort. Self-harm. It's seriously ducked up, and there are people with a serious issue. Self-harm is jot cute or quirky or aesthetic. Drug lords. Yeah, actually all violent psychopathic people. Drug lords. Serial killers. Bonnie Clyde. Girls who definitely murdered people but are kind of pretty, so the media does their best to show both sides. Edit, based on replies, throwing in mob bosses, hit men, and school shooters. Edit 2, changed psychotic to psychopathic as I mix the two terms up. They are different, and the difference matters. Celebrities being famous. OCD. It's not quirky or funny when I'm late for work because I had to back upstairs to check that the gas stove is off for the 15th time because I can't stop envisioning the whole building blowing up. I literally stand frozen to the spot trying to fight the urge to go back when I know I checked, but the intrusive thoughts are too upset to deal with. OCD isn't cute and quirky and being organized. For me, it's believing that people will die if I don't check again. Edit, thanks for the awards, kind internet strangers. I hope you didn't spend monies on it. You all deserve good things in life. Edit 2, so many people are commenting but it's hard to keep up. I'm sorry if I don't reply. Everyone is individual and no two experiences are exactly the same. Please don't let my comment panic you if you think you have OCD. Talking to something who can help is the best way forward. Howie Mandel talked about this on Conan's podcast the other week. As an example, he said he'd miss business meetings getting stuck in a loop of checking that the front door was locked for hours. I relate to this. I watched a TV series called Whitechapel where the main detective has OCD. Teresa scene of him flicking his office light switch off and on repeatedly whilst screaming his head off. That is exactly what it feels like for me. Reminds me of the episode of Scrubs where Michael J. Fox plays a doctor with OCD who has a breakdown at the end of the episode because he can't stop washing and rewashing his hands after surgery. I was going to mention this one. JD and the others idolize him because of his talent, and then he breaks down in a rage because he can't stop washing his hands. The fury and frustration was so believable. Toxic relationships. Yeah, thank you, Lana Del Rey lol. But no, seriously, I fell into that. I can rescue this almost 40-year-old unemployed alcoholic with serious mental health issues when I was 19, and boy, it was not pretty. Edit, lol guys, I am not blaming Lana for my abusive relationship. Her music was not out yet when it happened. I was just making an ironic joke and worded it poorly. Good luck to y'all though, it is really sad to see so many people had to go through that. I hope you guys found peace and life is treating you well. Cheers.